Hello everyone and welcome back to Maple Leaf Reviews. My name is Jeffrey.
And I'm Jacob.
And today we're doing another before and after where we take a look at a game before and after our very first play. And today that game is My Village. So this is a game that I picked up. The theme of it intrigued me, where you're running your own village and you gotta kind of be cognizant of how much time you're spending doing things.
Yeah.
Because your different craftsmen and villagers can pass away, and then you're going to have to train new people and replace them. So that whole concept of your workers, not being permanent throughout the game was kind of what drew me into it.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And then you have tradesmen, and when they die, you need to replace them, right?
Yeah.
So it's just so cool that you have these unique workers that if you let them pass on, you better not need to take that action anymore.
Exactly. So it's not only managing the workers and what you're trying to do, you need to make sure that you have some guys in the queue ready to come out when they pass away, because they are going to pass away.
Exactly.
It's not like you can just avoid that part of the game. So the game is kind of a dice drafting card activation game. Yeah. So that's another thing that I find interesting about the game is you're going to be buying these different buildings with different numbers on them, and then when you activate them in a later turn, you can activate all the buildings in your village with that number. So you can start building up like combos of doing different things with your buildings, which was also a really cool thing that I like.
Yeah, it's almost like a Machikoro type deal where you're buying these cards or purchasing these cards with you want a certain number to activate, but then you have a large pool of dice that get rolled, and you get to draft 2 dice to try and make the combo number that you want.
Yeah.
So it's easier to get that set activated than it would be in Machikoro.
Yeah, and I think that with the dice drafting, I don't really feel like you're going to be limited. It's not like, oh, I really want to take this number. I can't. There's going to be enough ways, I think, to mitigate the dice rolls, either by paying money to manipulate them or using some of your different tokens to completely change the face of the die.
Exactly, yeah.
So I think it's just going to be all about maximizing your village to run efficiently. So,
and there's so many different types of cards. There's, 7 different types, I think? And they all have different abilities that are constantly activating. So there's just so much going on. You have so many choices. And I think that's going to be interesting with multiple avenues that you can go for victory. Yeah. I think that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, and I've heard that it's a lot of like a sandbox type game.
Yeah.
You aren't told what to do. Basically, all the cards are available from the start of the game, and then you just decide, oh, I want to try this strategy or that one. So the game doesn't limit you into, oh, you have to go down this path. So I can imagine there might be a little bit of, especially for the first few rounds, just analysis paralysis of trying to figure out what it is that exactly you want to do, because nothing's hand-holding and guiding you as, oh, buy this building first, then buy this one.
Sure. One of my concerns with this game is just reading through the rules. I feel that could be a little solo-ish, where there's not going to be a ton of interaction, because you're basically running your tableau, and the only interaction that I kind of really see is drafting a dice and people taking the dice that you want, but then you have that mitigation like you were talking about before. So I'm wondering what that's going to be like interaction-wise. And then I guess the same thing with cards. You're going to be possibly drafting cards that people are...
Right. Some of the cards are unique, so once they're grabbed up, nobody else can get that. So if they were counting on that for their strategy, then that could hamper them a little bit.
Right. So I'm hoping there's going to be some more interaction than there appears to be, but that is one thing I'm kind of wary of.
All right, so going in, I'm kind of expecting it's going to be a fun game. I don't expect it to be bad by any means, but I'm not either expecting it to be super amazing. Right. I'm kind of just, above average is where I'm going in. And the time frame that it says 60 to 90 minutes for 2 to 4 players, I think is right around the right time frame for the type of game that it is.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the sweet spot. I'm also going into this game actually probably with a little bit of higher expectations. As we were going through the rule book, I was just like, oh man, this sounds really cool. This sounds like it's my type of game.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for this. I think I'm going to really enjoy it, and we'll just kind of see where it goes from there.
All right, well, let's get it to the table, we'll play it, and then we'll come back and tell you if what we're thinking going in is actually true or if we're completely wrong with our expectations.
Yeah, we'll see you guys soon.
Hello everyone and welcome back. We just finished playing My Village. So Jacob, what did you think of the art and components?
Art and components were decent. Yeah. I thought everything was pretty good. The cards.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is probably the one standout thing is the card stock for those
really
tiles.
thick.
Yeah, like they feel more like tiles than cards.
Yeah, but they're not super thick. No. They're just like really thick cards.
Yeah,
they're not tiles.
Yeah,
which is you have to feel it to kind of know what we're talking about, but like they're super thick. They don't really bend much, but it's just card stock.
Well, and the great thing about them is if they were thinner, like sometimes they if they're too thin, they like flare up at the edges, and then they'll like a gust of wind will come across the table and all the cards will rotate. They're pretty straight. They lay flat. They don't move once they're placed down on the table. So the components, I definitely think, are really good. They went all out on those cards, and it was, I think, worth it.
Yeah. Art style, it's good. Yeah, art style's good too. Yeah. I really like the visual appeal. It looks nice on sitting on the table. You got all the areas, the 6 different zones. I was going to say 3. There's 3 on each side, but they all have different color scheme. Yeah. So you can kind of tell that way too where things go. I will say, well, let's move on to the next.
Rules and teaching?
Rules and teaching, sure.
So I taught the game. It was pretty easy to teach. You just kind of, you pick 2 dice, you make a number, you either buy a building with that, you activate all the banners on your home board that have that number, and then you spend the time and the resources. Like that's basically it. And then you just, go through what each individual one does.
Right. And so you can either activate a single black banner card or tile or activation, whatever it is, or you can activate all the white banners that you have of that number. So sometimes you might have like something that activates on a 7, and you might have a black banner, and you might have a ton of white banners. So you need to decide, do I want to activate that one black or all these 7s?
Yeah. So that's where the combo building comes in.
Yeah.
You're trying to buy buildings with the same number so that when they're in your village, you can activate them all at once.
But then, if you have a whole combo of them and they all have time icons on them,
then you're spending a lot of time.
Then your time is just like flying by. Yeah. And your guys are dying like crazy.
So that going into the theme, I've constantly felt from the very get-go that
turn 1
that all my people were going to die. Like as soon as it started, it's like, oh man, like these people are about to die, and then they just kept dying off, and I couldn't train them fast enough. Yeah, because you kept taking the dice that I needed to make the numbers to train them. So I just felt like I was constantly short on people. Every time I told them to do something, someone died.
Yeah, I felt like round 2, like our people were dying off, and it was just like, man, I can't take this action because I don't have anyone in that zone. I don't have anyone trained to do that. Yeah. And so you got to keep up with the pace. I also felt that being first player, because I started the game as first player, and I think you took it on the last turn. Yeah. But I felt like I had a huge advantage. Did you feel at a disadvantage there?
It depended on the dice that came up.
Right.
I could definitely see because we played it 2-player.
Yeah.
I can definitely see in a 4-player, if you were going absolutely last, the choices of dice that you would have would be pretty pitiful.
Right.
But in 2-player game, it's like back and forth. We each take 2 actions. So depending on the spread of the dice, usually I could make it work. Right. But sometimes how they rolled, I couldn't do what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I couldn't even manipulate the dice into what I wanted to do because I didn't have enough money.
Yeah, I tried to do whatever I could to force you to take black dice so that your people would die faster, and then you wouldn't be able to take the actions that you wanted because you didn't have people ready.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of worked.
It kind of worked. I was taking black dice.
Because I felt like I felt the threat of people dying, but I kept all my positions filled for the majority of the game. I think I only had 1 guy missing from my tableau the whole time, whereas Jeffrey, you were down like 3 people. for the majority of the game, and you're just like, man, I need new people.
And it limits the options you have, because you can't take those actions unless you have those people. So you were really limiting what I was able to do.
Yeah, but I felt like you still had optimal strategies that you could do just with having two people. Yeah. Like you had the market and the
customer.
The customer. So you were able to make goods and then sell those and you were selling tons and you were getting lots of points that way.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like you were just out of the game because you didn't have people. You were just kind of cinched into a specific strategy because of the lack of people.
Yeah, and where I found it hurt the most was at the very end of the game when I didn't have enough turns left to get my engine started and going.
Right.
And I just wanted to pick up some points here or there, and I couldn't.
Right.
Like I couldn't travel because I didn't have the traveler guy, and that would have got me 3 or 4 points or something like that. So
we should also mention that when your guys die, you choose which one dies. So it's not like you're forced in any one direction and you have to go that route. You choose the route by killing off the people that you're not using.
Yeah. Yeah, I found going back to the mechanics, I found it was very streamlined, very easy. You just you pick whatever number you want to make. You figure out how to make it. You do that action. Like when it came to my turn, it was just like, I'll do a 6 and then doom, 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 done. So very streamlined play for sure.
Yeah. I did find that going into the game, the first 2-3 rounds, I was still trying to wrap my head around how it all worked. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than it was originally, but once I got going, I was just like, yeah, this totally makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know why it was that way for me, because it's fairly basic. I think it wasn't working.
I think it's the sandbox nature. It's not. It doesn't tell you need to go here first.
Right.
You just have so many options, and you're just like, I want to do this, and then I want to do that over there, and then you're like, those don't really match up. So I'm going to do this so that I can combo with the first thing that I do. So you might be a little lost, especially for the first couple rounds.
The first 2-3 rounds, I felt like I was very AP, and I was just like, oh man, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm looking at like all this huge, vast array of options.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man. But we did play a 2-player game in 1 hour. Yeah. And I think after playing it once, we could easily cut that down to about 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So, pretty good time frame.
Go on to final thoughts?
Yeah, let's do it.
So for me, I was going in expecting, a little bit probably above average game. It fell about the average mark.
Okay.
I think just because of how that tenseness of, I can't really do anything at the end of the game, I didn't really feel like I accomplished much.
Right.
So at the end of that hour, I didn't really feel like I got to make something that worked well.
There's definitely a tense feeling of time constraint where it was just like from turn 1 I was like, oh man, I don't have enough time to do what I want, and it's like the game hasn't even started yet.
If you start a strategy and it's not working out for you, you don't have enough time to switch gears and go into another strategy. You need to pick something, and it needs to work from the beginning.
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think it's a good game, but it's not for me.
Right.
So I probably wouldn't ask for it to come to the table just because, for the hour time investment, I'm not getting out of it what I want.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. I think this is a game where you need multiple plays. It's also a game that if someone really knew the game and they were introducing it to someone new, the person who knew the game would probably beat the pants off the other person.
Probably, yeah.
Because they would just understand good strategies for the game, all the different cards, because there is that, like we mentioned, that huge array of choices that you have right off the bat, and they would be like, I'm going to go this route this time, and I'm going to try this, and the other person's going to be like, oh, what do? I don't know.
The other interesting thing is if you are playing with a lot of new players and they aren't 100% sure, because the game ends when a certain number of people are dead, you could be as efficient with your actions as you possibly can be, but if everyone else isn't, they're going to end the game before you get your strategy into high gear.
Sure.
Because they'll be killing off people left, right, and center.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, oh, the game's over and I've only killed one guy.
Right.
So I can definitely see that new players can kind of force the hand of a more experienced person by making them have to kick it up a notch.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. So for me, I really enjoyed this one. It took me a little bit to get started. It's definitely something I would want to play again. At the end of the game, I was looking at the cards going, oh man, I should have done this, and I should have bought this card and then gone this route. And I wanted to try a new strategy almost right away. I would have been very comfortable playing the game immediately again, just because the first half of the game I felt like I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And now I did know. That being said, in my expectations, I said that there was all these different avenues that you could go for victory points. I feel that there aren't as many as I thought there would be. I feel like, you got the monks and you can go that route.
You can go traveling.
Got traveling, or you can sell stuff. And it's just which combination of those are you going to do? All three or just two of them?
Yeah.
And then it's how you implement going through that process, the choices you make to get there. So there's definitely replayability, but there aren't as many avenues to victory as I thought there would be.
Right. All right. Well, that's my village. If it sounded interesting to you, check it out. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
And follow us on Twitter at MeepleLeaf. And remember to go to BoardGameLinks.com and find Meeple Leaf reviews and give us those hearts so we can rise up the ranks and show these people how to review board games.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care.